Hey, Kansas City business owners making 100,000 or more per year. This message is for you. You work hard, but let's be real. Your finances, they might be a challenge. You're spending hours drowning in receipts, guessing what to enter in QuickBooks, and stressing out over taxes. And here's the scary part. If your numbers are wrong, you could end up paying way more in taxes this year, or even worse, getting hit with fines from the IRS. But you don't have to keep doing this alone. Silverstone Bookkeeping has over 16 years of experience and has helped over 50 businesses clean up their books and avoid costly mistakes. They know how to fix the mess fast so you can focus on growing your business. Right now, Silverstone Bookkeeping is offering a free 15-minute review of your finances in QuickBooks where they'll review your setup, identify issues, and help you keep more of your hard-earned money. That's a $150 value, free for the first 5 listeners of Kansas City Business Cast. You heard me right. Silverstone Bookkeeping, with their 16 years of bookkeeping experience, is providing a special offer to check your QuickBooks setup and ensure everything is in order for 2025. If your business is making 100,000 or more per year, do not wait. Call Silverstone Bookkeeping at area code 913-732-4151 or visit silverstonebookkeeping.com to book your free audit today. You grow your business. Let Silverstone Bookkeeping handle the tedious financial tasks. Welcome to season 4 of Kansas City Business Cast. By now, you've heard a message from our sponsor, Silverstone Bookkeeping. Thank you again. We have already heard, by the time of this recording, the ad has been launched officially for like 5 days. And we have already been hearing from Silverstone that we have listeners reaching out to them. So thank you. That is something that we've been praying for. The success of that and getting more businesses involved with this podcast just strengthens our tribe. Okay. I'm going to spare you all from the subscribe and notify button thing that I usually do, even though I just said it. So technically I did it. And just introduce my next guest, Stephen Ross from Renovating KC. Stephen, man, I am so honored to have you on this show, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. This is gonna be fun. I'm pretty pumped too. I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I gotta just tell a quick little story of how I met you, right? I was at Beastified, 5 a.m. and listeners know, they see my hashtag O500 gang thing that I've been posting forever. And I do that, partly to kind of market, Beastified because I love Sid, I love Corey and everything they're building there, but also as like a reminder, like, hey, I'm getting up, I'm getting after it. And I remember the first time that you walked into that gym with Dave, I think it was Dave and Josh, aka Shreddy Roosevelt. Shout out
Yeah.
Shreddy,
Yeah.
because he was wearing a Teddy Roosevelt shirt with like a really muscular Teddy Roosevelt lifting weights, and you like took a lap around the gym. And it was like, you're a tall, imposing, intimidating looking guy, right? So I was like, who are these dudes? Oh my gosh, we got more guys in the gym at this hour, right? And as we started seeing each other more often, at 5 o'clock, it was like we started talking. I always noticed too, when you guys walked in, you were always like happy to be there. Like, we're all looking tired and like groggy, but you guys say hi, you smile, you're having fun, you make jokes, giving each other a hard time. And so that was really where we met. And then as I started looking into what you were doing with Renovating KC and saw that you were, you did like a keynote speech, or you went to like a men's event and you spoke on a stage and got them to do push-ups or
Yeah.
something. You did something crazy. And I was just like, I have to ask this guy if he'll be on the show. And,
Yeah.
and so here we are, man. It's great to have you, dude. So
Yeah.
great.
No, I appreciate it. We feel the same way. Josh is kind of I call my swim buddy, Navy SEAL reference for a workout buddy. We just consistently kind of hold each other accountable. And getting to Beastified was a good time. There's a good group, a core group of people that go there at that 500 class, or the 500 time rather. And it's a good time. It's funny that keynotes. So I'll give you the quick backstory on that. So there was 4 speakers. It was it was kind of like mid-morning. It was approaching lunchtime, and they put me last. And I was like, oh, that's either going to be like a good thing, I can bring this thing home, or it's like, hey, guy, can you stop talking? It's almost lunchtime. We want to get to lunch. And so I went up on stage, and I had no clue what I was going to do. right before I went on stage, I told the videographer we were with, I go, hey, go to the side of the stage. I'm going to do something. I don't know what it is. And I got up there and I was like, I made everybody stand up and sit down, stand up and sit down while I did push-ups when we had a race. Anyway, it was super cheesy, super silly, but it got some pretty good laughs and got everyone back engaged in the 25 minutes that I had with them before lunch. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on here. What you do in the Kansas City business community is nothing short of incredible. I'm super proud to know you. I'm super proud to be a part of this. And man, let's rock and roll this thing.
I love it. I love it, man. So, I find it so fitting. I've seen the flag before behind you, burn the ships, and you've walked into the gym with "This is my happy place" on your shirt, and also one of my favorite lines, which I think came from David Goggins. What is it? It's
Yeah,
about caring.
yeah. David Goggins and Cam Haynes said the same thing. It's nobody cares, work harder. And
That's right.
we don't take that in like a malicious way that nobody, and it's just kind of this and I'm kind of a corny slogan guy, our team here at Renovating KC, whenever I'm leading meetings, I'm always trying to drop some sort of memorable, corny line that half the room chuckles and half the room's like fired up, like, let's go. And I don't know, man, it's just how I tick,
Yeah, I love it, man. And so I think too, there's one of those things because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff as well. And like I've said it many times that I read the books, right? Like Jocko Willink, David Goggins, these guys. I also caution people against hero worship, right? And that's part of why I made this podcast because I wanted to shine a light on just regular everyday folks that are doing amazing things because I think typically society, kind of it gets to a level of worship, right? Like when we're always like, reposting and, quoting these folks and stuff, like sometimes we can kind of put them on a pedestal. But, kind of like knowing guys like you that are actually leading and doing what you're saying, you do what you say what you do, right? Like your word is your word, right? It's so important, man. I had a direction I was going there, but I literally did. I quoted David Goggins a couple weeks ago when I was telling a story about something somebody said to me when I started this podcast that was negative, and I said, I love the line from David Goggins where he says, "I don't want to ever take food out of a man's mouth," right? And he says that like I'm not going to disparage anybody publicly, and so that is one of those things too that I feel like it's definitely helpful. And when you have like a flag that says "Burn the ships," I have a new hat. It says "Be a Pro," and it's from the guys at GBRS Group, and it's just my reminder when I put it on. I'm like, be a pro. Like maybe we could start out with your origin story and how you got into business. We're not really taught from a young age like how to be an entrepreneur, investing, things like this. Knowing that, like maybe you could just kind of tell us about your beginnings and where you got your start for orientation's sake.
Yeah, for sure. So, born and raised here in Kansas City, born and raised in Overland Park, went to the Blue Valley school system, which is a great school system, but you couldn't have said that any better. Schools were not designed and still are not designed to the business owner, the entrepreneurship minded. I struggled really bad at school. I was a solid C, D, occasional B, A in gym, B, C, D. Like I was that guy. And it just never really interested me. On top of that, I just wasn't very good at it, so therefore was not interested. But I grew up to the son of an electrical and nuclear engineer, being my dad. Very intelligent, one of the smartest people I still know to this day. And then my mom is polar opposite of an engineer, and she's the most eccentric outside salesperson, always smiling, could talk to the paint on the wall before she thought that was weird. And so I kind of got both ends of the spectrum, right? I got the super calculated, the super meticulous dad, and then the mom again who could sell and talk to anybody. And I learned, well, I shouldn't even say arguably, but I definitely learned more from them than what I learned in school. Obviously, until I got to college, I got a degree in business administration and took some very useful sales and marketing, accounting classes and finance classes. Obviously, those are super helpful. But being able to grow up with parents who allow you to be good at what you're good at and then teach you real world skills, knowing that, hey, it's okay, Steven, like we're going to get you through school. played baseball through school. So they're like, let's get you good enough grades to where you can stay eligible for baseball and get to college. And that's what we did. But yeah, I grew up here, pretty much lived here my whole life outside of a few years in college. My brother and I got into business still in college. So we started buying investment real estate properties, rental properties. And
Nice.
we had no clue what we were doing. It was 2009. The recession just hit. They're giving
Right.
properties away for free. We didn't have any money. My dad was like, hey, here's a couple bucks to maybe help Ben buy the first house. He got a huge tax credit, first-time home buyer. Anyway, we bought this thing, and in the very few free weekends that I would have during college, I'd go up to Manhattan, Kansas, where the property was, try to fix it up. My dad would come up there, and he knows a lot about a lot. He was trying to teach us how to do all these things, and immediately we're like, this is it. This is our Warren Buffett moment. Me and Ben are going to get into real estate. We're going to buy all these rental properties, rent them back to college kids. Like, I can't believe nobody's thought about this yet. Like, this is it. And we were dumb enough to do that, and it worked. And we acquired several properties there. So we initially, out of the gate, right, still in college, we're like, we're going to be in business for ourselves. We're going to find investment opportunities, be in business for ourselves. Graduated school, moved back to Kansas City, and then kind of decided I wanted to kind of monopolize the real estate market. So I got my home inspector's license. I got my real estate license. My brother and I at this point probably owned about 11 or 12 single family rental properties. Again, not really having a clue what we were doing. I was okay with making mistakes quickly. And some people don't. Some people are afraid of that, right? They think about it. Our general manager here at Renovating KC says, Steven, this is you to a T. You will try something and make 3 or 4 mistakes before the other guy even thinks about trying it in the first place. That's very important in business. So we were flipping a bunch of houses here in Kansas City. We would flip and sell, flip and rent, flip and sell, flip and rent, just kind of rinse and repeat. Until we saw kind of the market started to shift. Obviously, COVID 2020, 2021 rolls around. I'm like, guys, this is great that we're flipping vacant homes now because we don't have to deal with the homeowner or anything like that. So it was a kind of a blessing that we were working in vacant homes, keeping our crews busy during COVID. As soon as COVID...
So Renovating KC was a thing at this time before COVID.
It was barely a thing. It was a thought.
Okay.
And I go, everyone's going home. Everyone's going to work from home. Nobody's going to go back. I said, interest rate, they're giving money away for free. Everybody is refinancing for a 2.75, 3.0, 3.5 rate. And I go, home equity. I talked to my lender buddies. Home equity line of credits were getting pulled every day. I go, guys, we need a full-scale launch on an owner-occupied residential design and remodel company. And they're like, all right, man, let's do it. Let's go for it. So the paperwork got signed for Renovating KC in 2021, but really 2022 was our first full year, full steam ahead in business. 2024, wow. Yeah, 2024, we just completed our 3rd full calendar year in business. So it's been a wild ride. I know that was a lot to unpack, but that's kind of the 20,000 foot view.
Right. I love that. I love that, man. And it's evident, right, with what you said about what your manager said, general manager, right? Title. You will fail 3 times before people even think to start. Like, it's evident, right. Like with your growth. I know that you guys actually won a couple of local awards. You've gotten some recognition. What were those, by the way? I didn't do the research on.
No, you're good.
That.
Yeah, we've won 3 total Remy awards. It's kind of like the Kansas City version of Design and Remodel Space Awards.
Amazing, man.
It's a pretty cool event every year. They put it on, downtown somewhere. And we submitted, we submitted 4 this year. We won 2. There's still a recount on the 3rd. They kind of missed us in the category. So we may or may not be getting a 3rd one coming. And then the 4th one we lost out on. But we won 2 this year, and then we won 1 last year.
It's just little things like that, being in business officially as Renovating KC for 3 years, and the amount of steam that you've picked up. You and I talked recently too. You're adding to the organization. You got these different job postings, and you're like, I think we need this person. Who do you know? And it's just incredible, man. You have all these markers of success that are evident. When you were forming Renovating KC, you said the paperwork got signed. So I'm assuming that you guys set up an operating agreement. Was that you and your brother and maybe some other business partners? What
Yeah.
was that whole process like? Like, what did you guys have to make sure that you addressed and got right during that process of formation?
That's actually a great question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that before, which is good.
Hey, now
Yeah. Hey,
that's a podcaster's dream.
that's solid. That's solid.
Yeah.
So that there's three owners. There's myself, my brother, his name is Ben, and then the other gentleman, his name is Chris Dirks. The three of us own Renovating KC together. Chris had owned a general contracting company for, at the time, probably about 10 years or so. And it was small scale. He only had a couple guys. He would run one or two projects at a time. And we got into business together flipping houses. So me and my brother would buy him. Chris would help us fix them up, and then we'd go to sell them, and we kind of partnered there. So we were kind of like handshake partners at that point.
Right.
And then when we launched this, you have to do your due diligence. I mean, it took us longer than it probably should have to get the paperwork filled out, partnership agreement, those kinds of things.
Right.
But for me, it's really about who you're in business with the people. Obviously my brother, we've been best friends my whole life. We've been in business together now for 15 years. So my brother's no question, Chris is slowly becoming the third brother essentially.
Right.
But I knew his background. I knew enough about the people that introduced me to him. I knew enough about them and trusted the source. So it was kind of a match made in heaven on launching it. But getting out of the gate we were hauling ass, if I'm being honest. And we would set up enough of the documentation, the process, we'd set up just enough of that to be dangerous to move to the next thing, right? It's business ownership 101. It's like, just start sprinting before you crawl. And at least that's how I see it. You can always come back and revisit the pain points, always redo your processes, redo the paperwork, all that
I
fun
think
stuff.
Donald Miller calls it building the plane as it's flying.
Exactly. I've
But
referenced
even
that several
before
times.
him, there was somebody else said that,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, like you're going,
Oh
but
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
a not finished product.
Yeah. So I'll give you some growth ideas on where we started, kind of
Yes.
where we're at now. So 2021, we did a little bit of revenue. Again, it wasn't a full calendar year, but still classifies as such. 2022, we went from, I believe it was 4 employees. We finished the year at about 12. We finished our first calendar year at $3 million in the first year, total top line revenue. We didn't have an office. We didn't have a space. I rented a very small coat closet size room at a real estate office. And me and my brother just sandwiched in there, an office down to there for the first year. And we did some really cool projects. We had some really happy customers. We also did a lot of stuff wrong. We did a lot of stuff incorrectly. We tried to make it right. We always did try to make it right to the customer, but we would just eat it on our end. Year 2, we doubled in business, got up to 6 million in year 2. Grew the team. I think at that point we were 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there. And then we just completed year 3 at 7.5 million. So added another $1.5 million of revenue in the third year. We just submitted our application for the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing businesses in nationwide. Math guys. So I did the math from last year, and I calculated what our growth percentage was. It was 2,700% since the beginning, since year 1 to year 3. Well, I guess technically year 4. We should rank in the top 150 businesses in the nation. So I don't say that to brag. I say that because I'm super proud of the team. We'll get into later, I'm sure,
For sure.
how this team is built, how it moves so quickly. It's definitely not all about me. I can get in the way sometimes of our super high performing employees here. But yeah, we now have an office. Last year we got a shop. We've got a 5,000 square foot facility now. We're sitting at about 20 employees, and we're having a lot of fun. It's a good time.
I just I got the chills, goosebumps, whatever, bro. Adrenaline dump. Truly hearing about your growth. That is absolutely incredible. And something to, yeah, we're going to get into the team and I think your experience with hiring as well. and finding the right people and building trust. But something that you said about your brother, and then I'm sorry, the third Chris,
Chris. Yeah.
you said it was kind of a match made in heaven. Okay, so when we talk about being a believer, you're a Christian, correct?
Yeah.
And have you been a Christian your whole life, or like when did you find your faith? Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of grew up in the church.
Okay.
Went to vacation Bible school. My parents drug us out of bed every Sunday to make sure we were in church. We did all the
Yeah.
things, whether we wanted to or not as kids. Most of the time you don't want to. And
Right.
kudos to my parents for saying, this is what our family does on Sundays. This is what we do. And I still
Absolutely.
respect them, to this day. Our whole extended family, really same thing. So we were down at my grandparents had a farm in Alabama. I can't remember what year this was. I was probably 10, and had a full-blown conversation with one of my older cousins about what it meant to be a believer, what the Bible was about, who Jesus was, why he died for us, all the cliche stories. And I remember thinking, like, this is it. Like, I'm in. And got home, got baptized, and from there it's a wild ride. And your faith gets tested a lot, especially in business. And
Absolutely.
if you're not rooted in that, and you don't have other people who are rooted in that around you, then you're fighting a battle alone that is it's almost impossible to do. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I know that we say this not usually, I mean, I'll say it at least, and I don't say it from a point of arrogance, but because I literally did walk away from the church and God for about a year and a half of my life as an adult. It was we had my wife and I, we went through infertility, and we it was an ultrasound, and I saw my baby there just lifeless, and it threw me into this like spiral again, just angry with God, right? And I say all that to say that I've actually lived apart from God, right? Even though I knew he was trying to get my attention the whole time. My wife faithfully stood by me. People in my church network stood by me, let me process my anger, let me process all this stuff. And so I don't say it from a point of arrogance, but I say I don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
Because I felt that absence and that void. And if I'm not connected with him vertically, everything horizontally falls to shit, to be
Yeah.
completely clear, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, and so man, I appreciate that. Why how does that come into being a business owner? Like, I'd love to, you already said, like, if you're not rooted in that and you don't have people in your network or in your relationships, it's going to be really hard. But what are some of the ways that you think like your faith or like God shows up in your business,
Yeah.
aside from all the growth
Yeah.
and everything that's going right? But like,
Yeah.
even the small moments, man, like, where do you see him working in Renovating KC?
For sure. No, that he's working into people. And I go to Radiant Church here in Overland Park off 135th and Quivira. One of the junior pastors, Pastor Paul, gave a great sermon. It's probably been a few months now, but the gist of it was, if you don't look, act, and feel different than other people, why is anybody going to radiate towards you? And it's like, that can be used across the spectrum for whatever it is. Immediately, I took it into business, and I thought to myself, why would anybody want to work here? Why would anybody want to be one of our customers? Why would anybody want to be one of our vendors if we didn't look and feel different than others? And it's not that everybody else in this space is bad, because there's a lot of good design build firms here in Kansas City. But I just
Absolutely.
thought to myself, we have to be different. And our whole mantra for the last 24 months has been providing an elevated experience for the homeowner and for the employees. So if I don't look different as a boss, as an owner, as a president, or whatever title I have that day, if I don't look and feel different, then why is anybody going to follow me? Like, why is anybody going to enjoy working here? Or why is any customer going to want to hire us? Like, we're just a run-of-the-mill contractor. There's 1,000 of them. Why would they want to work with us? And I think it's the little things, like having such a strong foundation, being, for me, trying to be a pillar in this company. Like, I have to stand on something, and people know that it's the rock solid ethics and foundation that I have that comes from being a believer and comes from the church, that hopefully shines a little light to them that says, Stephen's going to take us in a direction that we all want to go in. And
Absolutely.
That's a lot of weight to carry that. So, I definitely make mistakes all the time. I'd say daily, I'm making mistakes, but, try to have the good outweigh the bad for sure.
Absolutely, man. And like with that, so I ask people like you, this is actually, it's come up quite a bit on the show, especially with folks like you that are like, I just define you as like a force to be reckoned with, right? Like it's like you take up space where you're at, right? And I mean that in a good way. I
Yeah,
mean that like when
that's
you're
good.
there, wherever you're at, it's a better place because you're there. Like when you walk into the gym, it's just a different vibe, bro. Like you're connecting with people. It's just you make everywhere where you're at, you're like the salt, right? Like, and I just say that brother to brother to you
Yeah.
in seeing that effect that you have on people. For you, man, like who do you go to? Because like as the president, it's like you have to be there and you have to be like kind of helping everybody see that true north when it's really hard, when it's really foggy and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. I mean, my brother's always been my sounding board. I'm more on the roller coaster. He's more just smooth and steady.
Right.
And I at least 3 or 4 times a week call him and we'll talk for 20 minutes straight. He won't say a word, and then he'll kind of give me the, hey man, like let's do this. That's a good idea.
Wow.
Well, and then okay, good. And then I'm back in check, and I can hit the reset button. I have other friends, other family that I bounce ideas off from a sounding board perspective that want to hear me out. I'll split this into two. From a business perspective, I have those people like I just mentioned, my brother. But at the end of the day, this is a corny reference, but you reference my shirt or my bracelet. Nobody cares. You decided that you wanted to be in this space. You decided that you wanted to be in this position. Don't ask or don't look for an excuse to why, oh, this is someone else's fault, or who can I get help from, or whatever. It's like, nobody cares. Like, you put yourself in this position, it's time for you to figure it out. So from a business perspective, I think those words several times a week, where it's like, dude, nobody cares about you. The employees come first, the customers come first. You're the last seat. You're the last one that anybody needs to be worried about. And you just condition yourself for what that looks like. And I don't mean it in a super negative way. I just mean it in,
Sure.
you've got to figure out, you have to be mentally stable, mentally stronger than everybody else, because their problems become yours, and you can't project your problems onto them, period. That's why I try to be in this position, why people are. Now, from a family perspective, I've got my wife. She's my rock at home. She's on the roller coaster with me. We have a very similar personality to where we're kind of emotional people. We're up and down, but we're on the ride, buckled into the same seat with each other. And we have a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, I mean that, and then I get to church on Sundays and say my prayers and pray for my friends and my family and this company and my my kiddos, and they just reset, fill your cup back up, and then you get back after it for another week. So
Absolutely, man. It's funny. I love how you, because I've had to make sure that when I go to the no one cares, work harder thing, that I think about that in the context too of my relationship with Jesus, right? And it's funny because I was telling you before we got on this call where I was at personally a week ago with the podcast and with
yeah,
VAS, and how I was like unsure. And what I kept kind of getting, I think, from the Holy Spirit in my quiet time was, did you not ask for a vehicle to do this? Did you not pray for years about starting your own business? Did you not like ask for me to bless you with you know what I'm saying? And I'm like up to my neck in exactly what I wanted
yeah,
in a way, right?
yeah,
Yet I'm like, I don't know if
yeah,
I want to continue this, or I
yeah,
need to reduce my time, or and so sometimes those conversations with the Lord, it's like that's that's what I keep getting. It's like, and then I obviously I've used Old Testament dudes as examples. Like I've used the walls of Jericho. I've used Moses having a speech impediment, David, going up against Goliath. I mean, Gideon, like they're like just a reminder that like he doesn't call the qualified. I know it's cheesy. He qualifies the called. That that is the other thing too, where I have to remember, like, yeah, that's absolutely, and it's just on that same wavelength of saying, like, you have to be the person, because actually that's why you're in the position you're in.
Exactly.
Act
Yeah,
like men, right?
exactly.
I think it's John
Well,
or Paul said that in Acts, act like men, I think.
yeah,
I'll have to look that up. But yeah, go
yeah.
ahead. You look like
I,
you
I was
got
gonna
something.
say you're playing right into a theory that I subscribe to, which is kind of like redefining what your definition of hard is. And I've done a few one speech about this. I've mentioned this in other podcasts, but it's like that's exactly what you did last week. Is you hit a benchmark of what hard was, you recalibrate it, and now hard is sitting up here, and you're still right here. And that's business. That's really life in general. Like everybody, it's always the culture right now in the mainstream media, and what everybody tries to push is poor me. I'm the victim. This is so hard. My life is so hard. And for me, it's like, I don't subscribe to that, period. And my definition of hard, which comes with definition of stress, definition of the struggle, it's just, if you're not continuously rising that bar or raising that bar to a level where it should be, then you're gonna be stressed. You're gonna think my life sucks. My life is so hard. My kids don't listen. They spill on the brand new carpet at work. I'm not getting any promotions. You got to figure out how to make your bar significantly higher than others. And that's all business ownership is. It's like we have the stomach to tolerate more stress, more confusion, more uncertainty than the guy sitting next to us. We're not cut from a different cloth. We have different definitions internally of what different things mean. And we're just, if I'm being honest, sometimes I'm just bullheaded enough and stupid enough to think that I can do it better than anybody else. And I'm not going to apologize for it. It's like, and I've been put in my place more times than not, but it's like, that's what the DNA that I'm cut from, for sure.
Absolutely. You've mentioned rocket fuel as a reference for, like, leadership, and we, for our listeners who haven't heard me mention it, there was 4 episodes where I either talked to somebody who had implemented EOS or read
Yeah.
Gino Wickman's Traction.
Yeah.
Dave and Eric, shout out True Fix Physical Therapy. They literally describe themselves in the episode as rocket fuel. And so, for our listeners, Rocket Fuel is a book by Gino Wickman, who is basically the father of EOS, or the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And is based on this principle that to make rocket fuel in a business, you have to have a visionary, and then you have to have a integrator, right? And then the people who get paid a lot of money to implement EOS, they're called implementers, right? And so, we got the definition. As you were talking, I'm just thinking of you and your brother, and then Chris. Yay!
Yeah.
I remember his name. Hell
go.
yeah! When I meet Chris, I'm gonna shake his hand.
Yeah.
Who are you? But I'm picturing like rocket fuel, and like you and your brother back in 2009. How does that dynamic work? You talked about it, like with your brother. You'll talk for 20 minutes, you just dump, and then he's like, all right, here's what I think we should do, right?
Yeah.
So you get some of those dynamics, but what does that look like? And here's the thing, why should more companies consider adding somebody? Because some people, they're scared. They don't want to let people in, right? I've worked with clients like that. I'm going to stop before I ask you another
that's
question,
great.
brother.
No, I think, if we're discussing business ownership principles in general, most business owners do the thing, whatever it is, for a few years, potentially by themselves. Maybe they hire 1 or 2 people. Maybe they get to a team of 5 or team of 7. I mean, the average small business is small, is just that. It's generally a few people. Small businesses aren't generally 5, 6, 700 people deep. And what people struggle with is, and I'm not the first one to say this, but they're working in the business and they're not working on the business, right? Old business theory. Once you can figure out the visionary and integrator positions and how that works, the visionary can truly explode, and business development and growth and projections and all, it becomes almost just a given if it's done correctly. We've transitioned probably twice. So at the very beginning of our business, I was the visionary / integrator / my brother was also the integrator. So we kind of had 2, and this was not the way to do it, but this is, I'm just being honest.
Very interesting.
I tried to do both.
You got me.
Yeah, I tried to do both. I was the visionary. Also, nobody could do it better than me. I'm going to do it myself. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to give my brother these tasks, and he's doing his own thing. And I'm like, okay. And then I started giving more and more to him. And next thing I know, he's recreated all the stuff that I barely spend any time on. He's recreated it all. And the processes are now baked out a little bit better than they were before. Then when we hired a general manager last year, he's kind of our new true integrator of the business. And his name is Alex Devine. Shout out to Iceman is what I call him. He wears these aviators and he looks like he's a super good looking dude. He looks like he should be in Top Gun. I've been friends with him since I think like ninth grade or something like that. So
Wow.
he's a stud. But anyway, he's what I would consider to be the true integrator of Renovating KC now, where I'm feeding him dozens and dozens of ideas, concepts, visions, theories, whatever. And he's like, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Okay. Hey, Steven, that's not terrible. Let me implement that. Let me put this to play here and let's see what comes of it. And then I'm just consistently kind of spewing ideas, and most of them are bad, if I'm being honest, but he's then taking those ideas and say, hey, that's a great idea here. Let me put some gasoline on it, implement it to the team and get it rolled out company wide or whatever it might be.
Biggest part of that, not to interrupt, but just to highlight, this is one of the biggest aspects of if people are going to go to this rocket fuel, even if they don't call it rocket fuel, if they're going to do like what you just described. The thing is, when he tells you it's a bad idea, or he tells you every freaking idea you brought today is horrible, you say, you're right. And that is what gets in visionaries' ways too.
Yep.
Is that they do not trust. And that's one of the things, like when you look at all the case studies of when EOS fails, or people are trying to create SMEs or let people grow and stay out of their way. Like you're trying to stay out of your GM's way, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And, the reason why they fail is because that visionary is just not ready to just give up that sort of control. And so that also speaks volumes. It speaks volumes about him for being vocal and not being afraid. And then you for creating an environment that was safe enough for him to be able to do that. Because that's the thing too, is when companies say, oh, we want your feedback. And then you give your feedback and they go, ooh, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay, well, shoot. Apparently the anonymous employee survey wasn't anonymous, right? Or it's not safe. It's not a safe environment. So then people shut down and companies lose their best people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, it was always also like a scale thing. So if I wanted to, and the team wanted to keep Renovating KC at a couple $1 million per year, great. We did that in year one. We could set up camp at the $2, $3, $4 million range forever and just be happy. And then I could do everything myself, or 80% or 90% of it myself. And from the very beginning, I was like, I don't want that. Period. Like, I don't want to be. I was disappointed at $3 million. I'll be disappointed every year at the number. But for me, I was like, how can I hire more people and get out of their way and let them do what they've been trained and hired to do? And so that's the lens that I look through on almost every single person that we hire here, is like, what skill do they have, or what trait do they have where I could put them in the right seat and find them the right task and then get out of their way. And essentially that's how we've been able to grow so fast. And most business owners, which is totally foreign to me, I don't understand why they think that way. It's like, I have to do all this myself. And I'm like, you're probably not the best at it either. I'm not. There's tasks and there's roles here at this company that people that we've hired and put in those seats do better than me and every other owner here, period. And people don't want to recognize that. They just assume like, I'm the business owner, I'm in charge of everything, I know how to do it. You don't. Nobody does. Unless you're Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or something like that, go for it. But you're not, so stop acting like it. So like, I'm a big fan of hiring the right team around me. Kind of a rocket fuel EOS spinoff, but again, I just mentioned it. It's about finding the right person, putting them in the right seat, and getting them the right task. That's probably 75% of my day, if I'm being honest, is what did the people need? I have people in this company right now with they're the right person, they're in the wrong seat. And it's like, okay, let's leave them there for enough time to learn that role so they can be super dangerous when I put them in the right, because I've already got the right role figured out for them. And if the role doesn't exist, we'll build it. I had an interview last week with a guy for some role. Like we were just spitballing it together. I was like, dude, I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know what the pay looks like. I don't know what the benefits look like. I don't know what your day to day is. I have no clue. Let's think out loud together on if this is a good fit. He walked out of the interview and he's like, dude, we just made up a position for me here. And I was like, yeah. He comes from a corporate background and he just like, he couldn't believe it. It's like, we'll probably hire him next week for this made up position that me and him did together during his interview.
It just, oh my dude, so many just elements there. I want to know when your TED Talk is. I want to know when you're gonna write the book. Are you gonna write a book? You're gonna write a book, right?
I don't read. I can't read.
You don't read?
Something. I do book on tape. You know, I try the reading thing. I did read Rocket Fuel, hard copy, and that was probably one books I've read in the last 5 or 6 years. I do listen to books. I'm a big podcast guy. That's why I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a very visual person. Like if I can see something and listen to it, I very rarely forget it. Versus if I read something, I'll have to read the same page 3 or 4 times.
Right.
Again, going back to I wasn't good at school. And the only reason I say that is because like, I wish I did have my mom kind of saying, hey, it's fine. We'll just get through this. My dad didn't really understand, like, just be better at school because he's a rocket scientist. It's like, okay.
Right.
But everyone learns differently. As soon as you can identify how you learn, that's half the battle.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was a great segue into talking about, how you've built the team. You've already kind of provided some nuggets of what you look for. I love how you will faithfully figure out seats for the right people. And I mean, my gosh, man, what if some of the coolest breakthroughs that you guys have seen from like being dedicated to the right people, and we hired this person for a reason. Like I'm envisioning, your guys' thought process. What are some cool breakthroughs that you've seen?
I'll give you a great example. Another good question. You're on a roll.
Thank you, my man.
We had
this conversation's meant to be, bro. So
it is.
Just,
I love it.
We're flowing.
We had, so we have construction managers in the field. They're the day-to-day operations on site. They're self-performing a certain percentage of work, and then they're managing the ecosystem of subcontractors, vendors, customers, making sure everyone's on the same page actually on the site. So we had one of these positions listed on, I think, Indeed or something. This gentleman applied, and I read through his resume that I think it was 22 or 23 years. He was a business owner building custom homes here in Kansas City. And I'm just, why is this guy applying to this position? Not to knock our position, but like, dude, you've been in business for 20 years. Like, you probably know more than I do. So immediately I call him and I go, hey man, I got no clue where this conversation is going. I read your resume, and if it's even half true, like you're too qualified for this position. And he's like, well, Steven, his name is Kirk Palmer. And he is now our director of construction, a role that didn't exist before our conversation. It was kind of a thought at some point, but it didn't exist. The pay structure, the data, nothing existed. And he's an older gentleman. He's been doing this for a while. And he goes, I really want to pass down my knowledge and my experience. I love working with the younger guys in the trades and getting them where they should be. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is a God thing. Why is this guy calling me? And he's been now with us for 6 months. He's one of the most important people here. He's a big dude, soft spoken. And he's totally revitalized our entire construction practice and how the day-to-day operates. And it's just like, if you're not open to those conversations, like a lot of other business owners would read that and be like, dude, this guy's going to want $500,000 to come work here. Like, I'm not even going to call him. Whereas me, I'm just too bullheaded. I'm just going to call and make a friend. I'm just going to call and have a conversation with him. And if I think it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. And it worked out really well. And so for me, it's just about being open to finding people who are, again, either have a skill or a personality trait that you can latch onto and use in your business. And they don't have to know anything about construction, but if they're hyper organized, hyper motivated, self-starter, A+ player, like, I will find somewhere for you to be at this organization.
That's right. Those are the things that you can't teach people to have, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's Anybody who's had to hire people, like for me, I've got, over a decade of recruiting experience. And so I am very much like you too. If I see somebody that's like, whoa, what are you doing applying for this? I will call. I'll call because, if I'm hiring for a team, um, I know what they're looking for, but also like when you get to see people that have this crazy experience and you're like, whoa, what are you, it makes me curious. I don't go past, right? But unfortunately, like, I mean, there are hiring managers that are just like, oh no, that like you said, there's that reservation of like they're going to want too much money or whatever. But what you get out of those conversations, like I love how you said, like, I'm just going to make a friend right now. Like I just want to talk to this person. It's so huge. And I can't tell you too how many times that when I've made those calls, just by calling them, how appreciative they are that I would even take the time to connect with them. And I imagine you as the president of the company reaching out, if they're not a fit, they probably know somebody who is. And because they just got to know you and they think you're the coolest dude in the world now, like they're gonna want to help you out. And that's the other thing is like connection, man. I feel like that's a big part. Um Business owners that have been in it for a while, they really know. It's like, hey man, your network is your net worth kind of thing. But just the willingness to actually talk to people too, do you feel like you're naturally geared that way? Like, would you classify yourself extrovert, introvert, ambivert? Like what?
Honestly, it depends on the setting. I was headed out to a networking event the other day, and one of our designers was like, I was kind of like, I've got to go to this networking event. She's like, Steven, don't you just love those? Like, you're super extrovert. You can talk. And I was like, it depends. It
Mm,
depends on the setting. And I'm very aware of this. Like, if it's a large setting that I don't have anything to do with, I'm not involved in whatever the event is, and maybe we just show up and we're just there, I'll pretty much keep to myself. I'll obviously I have my wife there, and I'll kind of make her like, hey, can you? She's the one that's like, hey, can you go see how long our reservation is until like we get seated? Like, she's like, Steven, you go do it. I'm like, what? So I'm that guy in some settings, and then I hope this comes across right. I'm very egotistical about this business, and what I mean by that is like, if I'm wearing this shirt and I'm representing this business, and I go into an event or a speech or in a customer's home or whatever, like I'm fully locked in. And at that point, I'm fully extrovert. I'm fully talking about everything that we have to offer. And it depends on the setting. And again, I
yeah.
don't mean egotistical in a bad way, like our business is better than everybody. I'm just so passionate about what we do here and the experience that we provide to the employees and the experience that we provide to the customers. Why wouldn't you hire us? We're the best, you know? So that's how I think. Again, kind of bullheaded and stupid enough to think that
Absolutely
way.
love it. I think from one to another, I totally appreciate it. And I
Yeah.
I also think too of how many years of my life I spent trying to make myself smaller. And I think that's part of the retribution of this podcast in VAS is,
Yeah.
is that like I finally realized, you know, just how dope I was, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Just knowing that again in the context of walking in faith and walking with Jesus of like, he chose me to do things that he doesn't want other people to do. That's why he wants me to do it, right? And I totally get that too when you're walking in and you're wearing that shirt. I've been to networking events as well, and had my flubs and my social, mess ups and things like that. But really, like, yeah, if you're there, you're the guy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's so big, man. So yeah, we kind of talked about like team building and how you get energized. I definitely want to figure out too, like maybe some of the processes that have worked for you, because and no disrespect to visionaries out there. I don't quite know if I'm a visionary or an integrator. That's why I feel like I got to get somebody else involved in my business stuff to
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
But one of the things that a lot of like visionaries struggle with is like submitting to standardization or submitting to a process or a standard way of doing things, because we think of stuff and we go, oh yeah, cool, I'll just go,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
actually process is a hindrance. That's going to slow someone like me down. um what are some processes that maybe you've gotten behind or that you've thought of to make things better, make your success more repeatable?
No, I get also a great question. I'm actually a big process guy. I do
That's
enjoy like
awesome.
a workflow. I like whiteboarding. I like getting things on paper. Like our sales process over here at Renovating KC, we have a 8-page document that's from the initial inquiry to how we're parking at the customer's
Yes.
home to how we're taking our shoes off, how we're presenting our business. Like I actually do like that stuff. I just don't like putting it together. And this is me, right? I love the idea of it. Love the idea. I got plenty of ideas for that. I'm just not going to sit down likely at the computer and type it out. So I'm
Right.
very good at delegation. Part of the vision integrator is like, how good can you get at delegating and get out of their way?
That's
Like
right.
I had my sales guy come into my office and I go, hey man, we're going to talk really fast for the next hour. And then I need you to remember all this stuff and take notes. And then I need you to go do it. And so we did. We like live track our whole process. He went back to his office a couple of days later. We had an 8-page document. We fine tuned it, and then boom, here's our sales process. Uh, so I love doing stuff like that. I mean, other parts of the business, the design and the operations, same way. But the best way that I can describe my thought process through these things, again, I'm a big analogy guy. I call them campsites. So as a business owner and as a process specific theory, like I'm kind of tip of the spear. I build a new campsite, whatever it is, say it's marketing, we'll use marketing example. I ran all the social channels. I helped create some of the initial brochures. Like I know just enough about it to be super dangerous, but I'm definitely not an expert. But like I went and built that campsite all by myself. Got very little help from the team because I was like, I need to go do this myself. Then I move on from that campsite and then I replace myself with somebody different. And that person comes to the campsite and was like, hey, this is a good idea. This is a good idea, but I need to rebuild half of it because Steven didn't take the time to build it out in full. Great. That's why I hired. That's why I hired you. I need you to come
Yeah.
rebuild my campsite. And then sometimes this is a 2 or 3 or even 4-phase deal to where Alex Devine, our general manager and main integrator, he's shown up to some of these campsites that I built years ago, and he just burned them to the ground and started completely over. Because it's like I got moving fast enough to get us through what we needed to do, to be just dangerous enough to roll out a marketing plan, create customer attraction to us. And then by the time it got to him 2 years later, he's like, dude, we got to redo this whole thing. Beautiful. That's why you're here, and I provide some
Love it.
insight with him. So the campsite, and I don't really like camping. I've only been camping like twice in my life, but, to me, it makes sense. And that's a process thing. Like how quickly can you get to that decision, set up camp, move on to the next thing and turn the keys over to somebody else. And that's
Right.
not, it all comes full circle to the talent acquisition, to hiring, to putting people in the right seat, giving them the right talent. Like that's this whole thing. And so there's a handful of people that work here that they spend a lot of time just redoing these campsites that I've built over the last 3-4 years and just mastering them. So it's fun. It's
Absolutely.
fun to watch.
Man, I love it. Do you have somebody now too in charge of your marketing and your social media? Okay.
Yeah, I do. So I have a part-time marketing manager. She came to us through a referral. Again, she's just a total rock star. Wanted to spend more time at home with her kiddos, so she works in office 2 days a week from home, one day a week, and then she's off Thursdays and Fridays. So it's a win-win for both of us. And then we hired outside vendors to help with content creation, social media ads, all that fun stuff. Ironically enough, for the first, well, almost for three full years, we spent almost zero money on marketing, which is, I get that a lot because people hear about our growth and they're like, great, who'd you get an investment from to go spend money on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, buy leads? We didn't need it. Like if you scroll down Instagram to like the very first, we deleted a lot of them. But like if you scroll down at the very beginning, it's like, who the hell was running? And it was like, that was me. That was my campsite.
Absolutely.
But we didn't buy leads. We didn't do Google pay for ads or LSA or Instagram. We didn't do any of that. So we've only been doing that for about 6 months now. And we're just pouring gasoline on the fire. But yeah, I do have somebody in marketing now. I have a sales guy who's been around for about 2 years. And he does all the initial consultation, goes out, meets with the homeowners, submits proposals, all that fun stuff. But initially, out of the gate, I was doing all that all by myself.
It's incredible. I've met quite a few house flippers in my day, right? Just where you were at, get where you got your start. I have also known people that have gotten out of it because they got discouraged, right? It can be very unforgiving, especially with fluctuations in the market. The time involved, especially when you start getting into a property and you're like, oh man, what's with all this mold damage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the basement, or whatever. What advice would you have for people, that are, they're really interested in this, or they want to level up? What would you say to, like, 15-year ago you, I guess?
Yeah. No, that I just had a conversation with an investor from Texas 2 weeks ago who wants to get into the Kansas City market. She's
Mm,
very successful in what she does. I think she's in accounting or finance or something like that. But she's very successful in what she does. So she's like, I want to replace, my income with passive income, the standard investor kind of ideology out of the chute,
sure.
where I'm going to cash flow right out of the gate, this, that, and the other. So I kind of coached her through like what I would do if I was starting over completely. And you got to have a high tolerance for risk and stress, if I'm being honest, in the real estate game, because if you're going to finance these things yourself, you got to put the down payment down. You're going to get lending from a bank. Like if you screw that up, like, yeah, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars, like either way. If you go hire, get like hard money lending or something like that, now you got another person who doesn't have bank regulation that it now holds your bag that you owe them. It can be pretty stressful, but you have to find the right people to do it with. That's why this gal out of Texas, like, we've got her hooked up with a buddy of mine who's a real estate agent. All of my rental properties are managed through KPM property management. So, and then I do all the construction and obviously all that. So I got the three of us on a call with this guy out of Texas to say, here's your dream team right here. Jeff is going to find and locate the properties. I'm going to look at them from an inspection perspective. We'll remodel them to get high quality rents that we can. And then Julie's going to manage it. And she's like, you guys have this all figured out. She's like, we just have the right team. None of
Yeah.
us know everything about it. I don't want to manage property. And Julie loves managing properties and she's really good at it. So it's like, just have Julie do it. Don't try to do everything. Most investors, if I could say one mistake, they try to do it all themselves. They think they're smarter than the guys that came 15 years before them. This is me. I thought I was that guy. And I can speak from real life experience here. But you're not. Like, find a good team. Don't try to do everything yourself. Like, go find a good lending partner. Go find a good realtor or real estate agent that can truly help you. And then, find the right vendors and partners throughout it. You can make a lot of money in it. You can lose a lot of money in it. We've owned rental properties for 15 years now. We still own quite a bit. And on some years we take L's on some of them, and some years we take W's. It just depends.
Right. Yeah. So, when we're talking about renovating KC, so the content that I've seen, I reposted this one. I was so impressed with it. You turn an attic into an office. I've watched you flip kitchens, outdoor cooking areas. What would you say if people are interested in, doing something to their home? What are your strengths, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah. Core competencies here
Yep.
are
That's the word I was
there you
trying to.
go.
Thank you,
That's why we work so well together.
my man. Yep.
Our core competencies, the way that I describe it, is somebody that can take full advantage over the ecosystem that we've built here. So for instance, if you have a $20,000 budget and you just want to refresh your kitchen, countertops, backsplash, whatever, that's great. It could very well be the right move financially for the return on investment for that property. That's probably not us. If you're looking to redesign a space like take 2 bedrooms and turn them into 1 master suite, that's us. Additions, large scale additions, basement remodels, bathroom remodels, we are more of the full gut and redesign it, rethink the layout, the functionality, etc., and then put it back together. Our average project size is about $100,000. And we have projects that do range from, we have some like $20,000-$30,000 projects, but we have one project all the way up to a $2 million remodel. We have another one that's in our hopper right now for about $1.3 to $1.7 million remodel. So we're not afraid to do these multi-6-figure and even 7-figure remodels. That's really our core competency, because we build the team out for every step of the way, every process, to have somebody who's dedicated and a professional and skilled at that particular step.
Absolutely.
but we love solving problems. I mean, we like our customers call us because we have the real estate investment background. I'm going to look at the property out of the gate. I'm like, hey, if you don't know what you should spend, like, let me help you. And
Mm,
sometimes I recommend spending less. Like I was at a call yesterday. This couple wanted to put a huge addition on their house. And it's just like, for what? Like, it's going to cost you $300,000 or $400,000 to do that. And you're going to move and then you're going to take a hit on the sell. Like, why don't you just spend 50, 60 grand, renovate what you got, make it a little bit more functional, hang out for 3 to 5 years and then move. And he's like, well, I guess we never really thought about that. So like, I'm going to look at it from that perspective. Our designers are fantastic. Like I call her our head designer, lead designer, but she comes from a commercial background. She can design football stadiums. So like for her to do a master bathroom, it's like, okay, this is easy. Uh, she's great. We've got our operations team, which does our estimating and our construction feasibility. I've got former city inspectors on staff. I've got HVAC guys, plumbers, electricians, all in more of a professional role, estimating and doing feasibility checks on these projects before they even start. Then we get into construction. I've got the Chris, who he's the owner, oversees all of construction. Then now I got Kirk, who's the director of construction. Now I got 4 project construction managers, and then I got field crew on top of that. Like, you're going to get I call it a white glove service. You're going to get a different experience. You could call it chucking a truck off Craigslist or Facebook or whatever. Nothing against them. There's definitely a purpose for them in the marketplace. But if you're going to call them, we're different. We're in the design build space. There's about 20, 25 of us in Kansas City. We're all part of the same groups. We're all part of the same award ceremonies. If you want to compare us to somebody else, it's got to be a fellow design build company.
right.
It can't be cousin Eddie down the street who used to install cabinets and now he's going to put an addition on your house. That's not a thing. And B, we're not going to compete with that. Our customers understand the value of their home. Like our average home value is, probably around 800 to 1.2 million. It could go up or down 20%, 30% either way. We're working on several multi-million-dollar houses now. But then again, like, not to discount like the $400,000 house that needs a new master bathroom. Like, we do those too. Our customers just understand that they're looking for a high quality service. They're looking for a white glove service. They want to hand us the keys and get the keys back. Like, we schedule house cleaning. We do window cleaning. Like, when we turn the project back over and get it into our 1-year warranty phase, like, it's done. It's fully done. There's, you don't have to call it. You don't even have to call your cleaning. Like, we're going to clean it for you.
There's no trash left. There's no,
Exactly.
I mean, that is the thing. Like, it's sketchy. Again, I know you said no disrespect to Chuck in a truck. Um, I mean, even in my experience with California and here in the Midwest, finding reliable people that are going to show up when they say they're going to show up, just again, basic level stuff. I'm thinking about, if Stephanie and I, if we're looking into doing something and, it's in your guys' target market, like, you'd be the first place I'd call, because not only do I know you in the company, but because of what you just said, it is literally, there's this continuum of what you guys do, and it's full scope, white glove, right? The fact that I don't need to talk to this contractor and that contractor and then this one, and I really like this one. This one was really friendly when they showed up, but this other guy, like, it's like almost antisocial, almost like I'm a pain in his butt,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
hiring him. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. I don't know, man. I feel really passionate about this. When you have work done on your home, which is like your sacred space, you absolutely have to have people that not only you can trust, but when they come in, they're like, we are here to make this place better.
Right.
And we are
Exactly.
going to leave it in better condition, more appealing, all that. I mean, I noticed, like, even your 3D renderings that you guys put out on the site, it's like, damn, that looks good.
Yeah.
Like, even we're not even doing we are not even here. And the way that product looks is awesome.
Yeah.
The fact that
Yeah.
you spend that much time into those details, it's like, it again, that's the thing where it's like, it bodes well for the entire process, because how you kind of overuse maxim, how you do one thing is how you do everything,
Yeah.
right? I think
Exactly.
there's context where that doesn't apply, right? Of course, but in business, it's like, man, how you handle that first call, that's in the customer's eyes, that's how you're going to do everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially in construction, it's not like if something's going to go wrong in every 100% of our projects, it's when something goes wrong,
Right.
because it will 100% of the time. And like, I've had this exact conversation with homeowners at the initial consultation where everybody else is talking about the butterflies and the rainbows that we're going to come put in your house. I'm sitting there going, okay, guys, when we have a plumbing issue or when one of our subs tracks mud through your front door on your brand new carpet, when the dumpster gets delivered and is blocking one of your garage doors, because all these things have happened, here's what we're going to do about it. We've already seen these. We've got processes put in place for how this happens, how the guys park on the street. Where do you want them to park on the street? Do you want them to park on this side or that side? Nobody's ever asked me that before. Well, that should matter, because they got big vans that we're not going to move once we get them parked. We want to leave them there for the day for efficiency reasons. Where do you want your dumpster? We got a 13 pallet lumber drop coming to your house to build a new addition. Where do you want us to drop that? Because it's going to sit there for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever asked us that. So it's like thinking through these things, like when something goes wrong, like they have a series of phone numbers, they have a series of emails that they can call or text. And we have an online portal as well that all of our customers have access to. So it's all of the messaging, the schedule, the documents, the change orders, everything that's been approved, all the finances, but like it's all, you can just log right in.
Pictures.
It's all right there.
Gosh,
and so
dude.
again, like anybody in Kansas City can retile your bathroom floor. I could probably call 1,000 people to do that tomorrow. But when you're remodeling your bathroom, it's all the little things around that, which is why general contractors exist. Because we get this all the time where homeowners like, well, I could just do this myself, or I could just, I could GC it myself. And it's just like, you could, you very well could. Do you want to? Is the real question. Like, most of the people that call us are fairly successful people. And like, what's your hourly bill rate? Like, how much money are you making per hour? And then how many hundreds of hours do you want to put into your home? Why wouldn't you just pay somebody else to come in and do it who does it at scale every single day? And I could get real passionate about that, like selling a homeowner is why they should hire a general contractor versus sub out themselves, whatever. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to put all those fail safes into place for when things do go wrong. We've had plumbing issues before where something started leaking overnight. Like, we have a process in place to make sure if one of our guys can't get out there, we've got emergency plumbers on call. We can say, hey man, I need you over here,
bro.
Now.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And I think too, like I pride myself on being a manly man and being able, the things I've fixed myself, the things I've built myself, the things that I have, gas related, electrical related, plumbing related, there are still things where my threshold, where I go, that's too much. And my wife and we know, and she knows this too. Like, if I get to the point where I say, I need a plumber for this because I'm out of my lane on this. She knows by that point that I have done every bit of research, that I've explored all the options. And I've learned over time. And that's the thing. Like, I encourage homeowners to learn how to do some things themselves, but like, there is a threshold, man, at least. And I've worked with contractors before, like blue collar jobs where we show up to a place and we're doing a quote and the homeowner says that, I could do this myself. And then we start walking through that with them. Okay. So if you're going to do it yourself, here's what you need to be mindful of. Because if you're not going to hire me, here's what it's going to involve,
Exactly.
And when they start to really think about that, like, I worked for a sprinkler company back in the day, and trenching, trenching for sprinkler lines, and man, like calling the utility company to get the gas lines marked, all this stuff, right? Doing it in your house, it's a big deal. But I love how you brought that out too. Like, we have contingencies if the leak happens overnight.
Right.
Like, you've literally thought out all of that stuff. It makes me think about, like, so, and you said too, like, I'm never going to be satisfied with the number.
Right.
So what's next, dude? Like, what we're in January, we're in 2025. What secrets are you okay with saying on a podcast?
Yeah, no, that's good. I think, the design build space in Kansas City is getting bigger and bigger. The new homeowner, the new wave of new homeowners and older homeowners are getting conditioned to hiring design build firms, hiring a professional service contractor to come in and look through the feasibility and put together a design plan, a construction plan before it happened. So, I mean, the design build space is only going to get bigger and bigger, especially in Kansas City. It's very large on the coast. You know, things happen on the coast first and they migrate here, obviously. Right.
Right.
You know, California, Florida, like DC, like New York, everything is design build. So for us to be, we're definitely not the first one to do it. I mean, we're new. We're the new kids on the block relative to some of our competitors have been around for 20, 30, 40 years. Second, you meet somebody, I think, third generation.
And you're 3 years in.
And we're 3 years in.
I love it so much.
So, yeah, that's where I get real competitive. It's like, okay, they've been in business for 40 years and they do just a little bit more business than we do. It's like, guys, we're doing something right here.
That's right, baby.
I found that out from some of their employees coming to interview with us. Either they're still with them or they've left that company. Then they come, what the hell are you guys doing over here? Because like we start to see you everywhere. We see these vans everywhere. It's like, what are you all doing over here? And I'm an open book and I'll share that with them and they'll just be like, yeah, I want to come over here.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna scale. We're gonna keep scaling pretty big. We've got our management team, the infrastructure is in place. We hired some consultants this past year to come into the business, really dive into. It was kind of a waste of money in my opinion, but they did have some good nuggets they left behind. And one of them was they estimated that we were 2.5 years in at the time. They estimated that we should have been in business for about 7 years because of where we had been, what the processes, everything that we had in place. They're like, this is an estimate, and they could be totally full of crap. They're like, we're estimating this to be a 7-year-old business, and you guys are in your second 2.5 years in. So we're rocking and rolling.
Incredible, dude.
We're going to keep scaling pretty big. And I mean, the big thing for me is like the guys that everyone here at Renovating KC knows this. I own other businesses as well. Like my brother and I own our real estate portfolio, licensed realtor, licensed home inspector. I still dabble in that occasionally, but
nice.
I'm definitely the definition of a serial entrepreneur. So I actually just launched another business with another business partner of mine, good friend of mine, Derek Thomas, not to be confused with the Derek Thomas from the Kansas City Chiefs, but it's spelled the same. But obviously, not him, but we just launched you'll hear some very similar terminology, but we launched a pool cleaning and servicing company. So pools and hot tubs, a white glove experience. We're trying to allow people to buy their time back. It's just like people that pay to have their lawn mowed. Like they want to come home, they want it to be done, they want to hang out with their family, they don't want to get the mower out, they don't want to go get the gas, they don't want to charge the batteries or whatever. They just want to come home and they want to enjoy their experience of their house. And our customers put a lot of weight into that. So I thought, okay, what else can we do? Pools and hot tubs. I have a pool and I hate cleaning that dang thing. It's miserable. Like I'm out there doing it. I'm thinking I should either be with my family doing something else or I should just be at work. Like I'm way more effective at work.
This is not value added time.
This is not me.
This is waste. Yeah.
I'll even try to put a podcast in or something. Be like, okay, at least I'm getting something out of it. Yeah. So our goal is, it's a really funny name. It's a really fun culture that we're trying to build. It's called Tasty Pools. We have a flamingo with a backwards hat sitting in an inner tube as the logo. And, it's awesome. It's full service. So it's weekly cleanings. We sign up for a year. We open the pool. We clean the pool every week. We close the pool out. We do winter check-ins. It's going to be really interesting because obviously what kind of exploded during COVID was people spending money on their homes, people spending money on exterior spaces. The pool business, the construction pool business over the last 5 years is just absolutely through the roof. And those people pay a premium to make sure that when they come home on Friday afternoon, their pool's ready to go for the weekend. So that's going to be us. We've kind of done a soft launch with our website, tastypools.com. But we'll officially launch here in February, and then we're going to be ready to make a name for ourselves come pool season this year. And it's just exciting. Like
incredible, dude.
It wasn't going to be a thing. Like I got together with some friends, and the network that you're around is uber important. And we were just sitting around, and me and Derek were like, "What? We're just kind of new friends." And he's like, "What's your background?" I was like, "What's your background?" I was like, "Sounds like we should do something together." And he was like, "What do you want to do?" He's like, "Well," and he goes, "I got this idea for this, that, and the other." He had the whole game plan. I was like, can I join in on that? Like, that sounds like a great idea. And he was like, let's roll, man. So, this happened in, middle of December.
Wow.
So the conversation has been happening for 30 days. And again, that's our ability to just get that. Like, we're going to make plenty of mistakes, but like the bank accounts are set up, the software is set up, the like everything's already in place, and basically 27, 28 days that we've been thinking about this over the holidays as well. And like we're where a 6-month or 12-month old company is already. Like, we're ready to roll. And so I
It's
love that. I love
incredible.
business. It's a big game to me, and it's a game that I very rarely don't enjoy playing it. Like, I love Monday mornings. I love Wednesday mornings. I love Friday morning. Like, I love it all. Like, when I come to work, like, how can I disrupt the space? How can I come up with the next best thing? Like, I just love doing that. Like, how can I build the next best team? I don't know anybody in the pool cleaning space, and we're going to build a team out that I'll rival with any team here in the next 6 to 9 months. It's just going to happen because we're
Absolutely.
going to go hire the right people.
I just what's so cool about this conversation, dude, is that you have totally pumped me up about not only everything that you're doing, but what is possible for myself and my wife and other entrepreneurs that I know, or people that have been flirting with entrepreneurship, and they're just scared, right? I hear you talk about it, and it's it's just amazing. It's like the when you said it's like a game to me, I thought that was what I was thinking, is like how you were talking about this and your experience and going back to 2009 is like you have made this an enjoyable experience by challenging yourself and bringing other people into these things. And because of that, you are now seeing, the fruits from the root, right? That you planted years ago. And there's this harvest that you're getting to reap, bro. It's
Yeah.
it's incredible. And
Yeah.
I man, I just hope, like, as people listen to this interview, like, they're gonna be inspired. They're gonna walk away, just smiling ear to ear, hearing about your experience. We've covered a lot of stuff. I'm a firm believer in, whatever we cover is what we're meant to cover. And I
Yeah.
would love to have you on the show again when
Yeah.
you start up the next 3 or 4 businesses.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
renovating KC is doing, 100 million. I mean,
Yeah.
for real. I mean, we can say that I know this will age well.
Yeah. It will. It
It will
will.
age well, right?
Put it
Like
out
this,
there, Michael. Put it out there, my guy.
bro. I'm telling you, man. Like, I know it. But on that subject, is there anything you want to kind of like put the end cap on this? Anything we didn't cover, or anything that you're inspired to kind of say to kind of sign us off with today, man?
No, for me, man, I mean, I know you'll put all of my contact information, all of my handles and all that fun stuff. And I really do mean this. Like, if you are one of those people on the fence of business ownership, like, give me a call. I host people in our show, in our conference room almost weekly, if not every other week, where it's like, we have no business talking to each other, but it's like, come on in here. Let's just think out loud together and figure out if I could just help,
Amazing.
because it's all about getting to the no or getting to the yes faster. The chances are, if you're on the fence about being a business owner, there's a better chance that you will not be a business owner than you will. Let's get to the no faster, get that monkey off your back, and then go be maybe a general manager for somebody. Go be a C-suite level executive for somebody. Because, like, you don't have to be the owner. You don't have to start this whole thing and do it all yourself. Like our general manager, he doesn't have the business ownership DNA. He could do it. He could do it right now. He could go do this tomorrow. Like, he's in the right seat. He's got the right people around him that he's crushing. He's living life. It's like, so if that's you, like, give me a call, reach out, like, text me, call me, whatever, come by the shop. Like, I'm an open book. I love this stuff. That's why I love what you're doing with this podcast, man. Like,
Thank you, bro.
hopefully this has motivated you. Hopefully you're ready to kick off with whatever season 38 you're going to be on here soon or whatever, to like make it happen, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely when I have this conversation. I mean, I told you I started this podcast because I walk away from conversations with dudes like you, and there is no other Stephen Ross as well. I just to say that. And I would say, like, I wish I recorded that conversation. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that we recorded this conversation, brother.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll definitely we'll get you linked. We'll do the collaborator stuff. I know I could pull like 8 reels out of this, but I'll probably get a couple that we'll just put out there on the
Yeah.
interwebs the week of
Love it.
release. And man, all the best to you, brother. So
Yeah.
appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, thank you, man. Keep it up, brother.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. You heard it from Stephen, the boss Ross himself. I just came up with that. Patent pending. Definitely get out, see him on social media. Great dude, very active. Renovating KC obviously is making moves. Everything that he's doing, definitely the intent of this show is that not only you would learn about what business owners and influencers in our region are doing, but that you would also kind of add them to your tribe of influencers, and remember to focus on the local people that you can actually do life with out there. Okay. So thank you all. Really appreciate it. Again, remember, subscribe, rate, review. Thank you.